G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today I want to have a quick look at this, the fallout of this particular post online. So the poster made a point of pointing out the discrepancies in the redesign of the Mark III. How the new sculpt is quite different to the old sculpt, and how they're not the biggest fan in the world of that. And that's really how it ends. I say, in summary, it's a lot of changes, and they're personally not a fan. And what do people think of? Is this retcon intentional? Is it allowing a junior sculptor to work on the kits? Help find the art depicting the changes, that sort of thing. And for the most part, it devolved into an absolute scrub fest very, very quickly. To the point where the admins were stepping in and for hours just deleting negative comments, and yet here are some of the ones, even despite the admin's fair efforts, that made it through. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is not to debate the merits of the argument. Frankly, there are differences, and it doesn't take a genius to see that there are. Whether or not you agree with them or not, I don't care. What I care about is that there seems to be two distinct standards within the community. The first is a standard of what we call positivity, toxic positivity, and I've spoken about it in the past. And that toxic positivity, we're seeing it here, where it's like you can't criticize the company without becoming an outer circle, without being just seen as pure salt. Everything you say is negative, and hell, you thrive off creating salty content. But when people ask fair and legitimate questions, like this person has, instead, they get basically shafted with comments like these. And take your time, read through them. You have all video too. So we're seeing these comments about whinging, about how it's nitpicking, how people are just complaining because they're new miniatures. Why can't we in the community have opinions? That is my concern here. Why is there a double standard for, if you like kits, you can say as many positive things about the kits as you want, but the minute you say something negative, you are the worst thing since the Mustache Man in the 1930s Germany? Why is that? I just don't get it. I mean, I do get it in a way, because I think people have, as I've discussed many times before, they've tied their personality to the company. And a criticism of the company is a criticism of them personally. It's not a great way to live your life. I think it's a very toxic mentality, but it's a mentality that exists for better or for worse. And to the point of making sarcastic posts, like one person put a post up in the bottom right here talking about comparing the original resin Mark III from Forge World with the plastic Mark III from Games Workshop, trying to say that, hey, these kits changed, although I think we can all say they changed maybe 2%, and trying to conflate it as being equal, that these things changed too, why don't you complain about this? And it's such a pathetic way to look at things, and I just, as a community, can we not do better? If people like something, if they don't like something, you can either scroll on by, or you can get involved in the conversation, but try and actually give some actual critique that people can take away and do something with. Okay, let people, give them some imagery, for example, which many comments did do on this post, and I think that's a great thing. Show old images of the artwork and be like, well, I think this is the artwork they were trying to homage, That's what the OP, the original poster, wanted to see. That is perfectly acceptable. In fact, that is preferable, okay? And, but that's not what we got, is it? What we got in the end was a lot of comments like this, and many more were deleted, where it's people just saying that it's gatekeeping, it's this, that, and the other. And I find it really ironic that all of these people coming into the community, coming in with, complaints of gatekeeping, and yet the very behaviour they are engaged in is the definition of gatekeeping. You're saying to people who care about consistency across their model range, they're not entitled to have that opinion, and that they should feel bad for holding that opinion. if we put this shoe on the other foot, with my personal opinion on the hobby, I think people are far too lenient on the company for doing these changes. Is it right of me as a content creator to then go out and just lambast the fans? Just constantly pick on them and say, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. I've had to do it a couple of times, but only in very, very specific situations. I mostly believe in voting with your wallet. If you don't like what they're doing, don't buy it. And a great many people wanted to just see, say, the Death Guard kits in 40k cleaned up. Okay, they like the design of the Mark III used there. They wanted to see that used for the Horus Heresy. And instead they got this completely different redesign of the Mark III for the Horus Heresy. And that's, not what they were expecting. And they're not happy with it. Okay, that's a fair and legitimate criticism. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but it is a fair criticism. It's a subjective opinion that those people held. Telling them that they're whinging does nothing for anyone. And I'm sure Games Workshop is going to be there to give you the badge personally for being their number one fan and defending them online. How about we just don't engage in that behaviour? Give constructive feedback to people. Give constructive criticism. That goes both ways. Stop giving them money for these things. And I will tell you something that I predict will happen over the coming few weeks because of this release. And that is going to be a bunch of people who were previously telling us how much they loved the Beakies and needed them in their life are going to switch over to how much they love the Mark III and how much they need the new Mark III and how their army of Iron Warriors or Death Guard or whatever is going to need this army and that they couldn't perform their hobby without it. There was already an existing Mark III kit, but that's now crap. We don't like that one anymore. It was the coolest kit ever when it came out 5-6 years ago. Now it's crap kit. No, we don't like that Mark III. We like this Mark III. That is going to be everywhere. Because people get caught up in this hype train. And rather than, taking that step back and look at things objectively or even subjectively and just saying, what's going on here? The love and the passion for the hobby, which is great. It's great to have love and passion for these things. But it overrides a bit of common sense. And I know it's a dangerous term to use because there's not a lot of common sense left in the world these days. But we are seeing posts like this. And just look at these comments. Do you see comments like this occurring on a page where people are in favour of Games Workshop's models? How many comments do you think make it past the admins on Facebook and on forums, whatever it might be, with this level of critique for the OP when the OP says, I love the new miniature? Even those Primaris Marines that released recently, those horrible missile launchers that look like t-shirt cannons, those ones that everyone agreed are possibly the worst sculpt to have come out in the last decade out of Games Workshop, they came out and people were not creating whole threads of how crap they were underneath people saying that they liked them. If people said they liked them, the worst you would see is people going, really? You like those? And that was it. You weren't seeing people saying, you're an idiot, you're a whinger, why do you care about this? You're so dumb. You weren't seeing that. So really, what I'm saying is, what's with the hypocrisy? Can we as a community not do better? Can we not accept that there are going to be other opinions? I accept that people are going to like these things and buy them regardless. Okay? I don't think they should. I think that they should not buy any of these new kits to send the message financially to the company that you need to produce the things that people need first and foremost. But that's my personal opinion. And it's same as my personal opinion was if they'd done these in Mark II, I think they would have sold so many of them, they would struggle to keep them in stock, because Mark II is probably everyone's favourite Heresy armour deep down. Yeah, I said it, I can't prove it. It's, again, subjective opinion, right? But saying that this was what was needed for the Heresy and these are going to look great and all that, no, I don't think that's an opinion one can really hold in fairness because, well, it's not true. These weren't needed. There was already a Mark III kit. If you don't like the proportions of the scale or anything like that, okay, that's fine. But nobody was forcing them to make the Mark VI in the new scale, But saying it was needed, I think that's just a step too far. And this kind of behaviour from the community, in just lambasting people for holding very, I think, fair and understandable opinions, talking about actual discrepancies fairly and not rudely. They're not being condescending to people. They're not putting down people. But for whatever reason, they're just really being shafted, and I don't think that's fair. So can we not do better to meet in the middle and, let's use our brains. We're all adults in this hobby, right? Because no way kids can afford this. We're all adults in this hobby. Let's discuss it rationally like adults and talk about the pros and cons, and let's move beyond the consumer mindset of everything is great. Because not everything can be great in life. We're allowed to critique movies, we're allowed to critique vehicles, we're allowed to critique the hotels we stay in on a holiday. Why can't we critique our models that we are paying a lot of money for? Anyway, that's it for me. I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. Please do better by your fellow hobbyists. And I'll see you all on the next video, which will hopefully be about 3D printing.